AlgoLaser sent over the new MK3 15W laser engraver, and I decided to test it from the perspective of someone who's still learning laser engraving. I got some really clean results. I also got some pretty ugly failures. And the biggest thing I learned is that lasers are not just about finding one magic speed and power setting. The material matters, the artwork matters, the focus matters, and sometimes the thing that looks like it should work just does not. So in this video, I'm going through the unboxing, the setup, the built-in touchscreen features, LightBurn, engraving, cutting, and a bunch of real test projects to see what this machine is actually like to use as a beginner. Welcome back to the Custom Corner. This is the AlgoLaser MK3 in the 15W configuration. There's an 8W version as well if you want to keep the cost lower or just need a laser for light work. I'm mostly a 3D printing and maker channel, so I'm not coming into this as a laser expert. My goal was to see how approachable this machine is, how well it works with LightBurn, what the built-in screen can do, and what kind of results I could get after some trial and error. AlgoLaser did send me this machine to test, and they also gave me an affiliate link and coupon code. But they are not seeing this video before it goes live, and these are my actual results. Most of the serious projects in this video were done in LightBurn, but I also spent some time with the touchscreen and the built-in files because that's one of the beginner-friendly features they're pushing with this machine. Starting with the unboxing, the MK3 comes mostly assembled, so this is not one of those kits where you spend hours building the entire frame from scratch. AlgoLaser was gracious enough to send me not only the engraver, but some accessories as well. They're currently running a great pre-sale promotion where they include a bunch of goodies for free, so I'll leave the link for that in the description. Inside the box, there's the main frame assembly, the 15W laser module, the touchscreen controller, cables, tools, safety glasses, and some sample materials. Depending on the configuration, some accessories may vary, so what comes in my box may not be exactly the same as every bundle. The general idea is that this machine is supposed to be easier to get started with than a more bare-bones DIY laser. It has the touchscreen, built-in projects, a more guided workflow, but it still works with LightBurn, which is what I wanted to use for most of my testing. I snapped in and screwed on the parts, and I was on my way pretty quickly. I'm going to skip over most of the actual basement setup because honestly, my basement is not camera ready. I'm not one of those big YouTubers with recording studios, and I don't live in a mansion with extra rooms or workshops. I'm in New York and working out of a basement that also acts like a hiding place for all the stuff we outgrew or have nowhere else to put. So it's cramped in here and space is at a premium. But the important part is that I'm not running this open in the room. I bought the Creality laser enclosure and vented it out a window with an AC Infinity inline duct fan. I went with the 6-inch version to get the maximum flow possible and ducted it out the basement window using a universal window vent kit. There's a couple obvious problems with this setup. One is that the Creality cover comes with a 2 3/4 inch duct and a low power fan. So I connected it temporarily using a janky way of connecting a 6-inch to a 4-inch converter plus cling wrap to have an airtight connection. Totally jank city. The other problem is that the cover is universal and extends like 6 inches past where the laser and my table ends, so there's a whole area that's open below the cover. This part at least isn't a huge problem because the airflow from the duct fan pulls out the air pretty nicely, even with the step down. I'll leave a link for all this equipment in the description. I'll end up cutting a bigger hole in the cover to accommodate the 6-inch hose, or even go down to a 4-inch hole, since even that will be an improvement. Having said that, it does make filming a little harder, because once the enclosure is closed, you can't get the same clean view of the laser working. So for some of the running shots, I use a small camera inside the enclosure, and for a lot of the results, I just show the piece after the engraving or cutting is done. For me, that's a reasonable trade-off. I'd rather have worse B-roll than fill the room with smoke. Before doing the final projects, I ran some basic test grids because I really did not know what settings would work. I did it on a quote-unquote natural wood coaster and another on aluminum black coated cards. I also ran it on a scrap piece of balsa wood. And this is where I started to learn that the results are not always intuitive. On the balsa wood, for example, I had one test where 6,000 millimeters per minute at 20% power came out nice and dark when the laser was slightly unfocused. Then I focused the laser and ran it at exactly the same settings, and it came out much lighter. Then I tried higher power, and instead of getting darker, some of the results looked even lighter. My best guess is that on very soft woods like balsa, more power can start removing or vaporizing the darkened surface instead of just toasting it darker. So more power does not always mean a darker engraving. That was a good early lesson. Test the material, because the obvious answer is not always the right answer. One of the easiest wins was the black aluminum cards. At first, I wasn't totally sure what these were made of, because they almost felt a little plastic-like. But they are coated aluminum cards, where the laser removes the black coating and reveals the silver or gray metal underneath. This gave me some of the cleanest results of the whole test. The contrast is sharp, the details are easy to see, and the finished piece looks much more polished than some of the wood tests. This is not deep metal engraving like you'd get from a fiber laser. It's removing or marking the coating. But for this kind of black aluminum card, the result is really nice. Next, I tried the black acrylic sheets. These are about 2mm thick, and for the first test, I engraved the custom corner logo on the top and a pirate image on the bottom. The one little trick I learned to do is create a rectangle the size of my material in LightBurn. Then, I burn it onto my scrap wood at a light setting. This gives me the exact position of where my material should go in the laser bed. This way, I don't have to continually frame and adjust my material to where the laser will be. I set that up in LightBurn, do a quick 5-second engraving, and I have the perfect positioning. The logo came out good. It's bold, has clean edges, and that kind of graphic artwork seems to work really well on black acrylic. The pirate image, though, did not work well at all. It mostly turned into a big frosted gray block with some detail buried inside of it. You can kind of see the details if you hold it out to the light in a right angle and catch the reflection, but straight on, it just doesn't read well. So the lesson here is pretty clear. Black acrylic can look great, but not every image belongs on it. The project I personally cared about the most was the city map coaster. I have a set of city map coasters that I bought a long time ago, and I always liked the look of them. So I wanted to see if I could make something similar myself. I had bought some nice looking blanks a while ago that had a mix of dark and light areas. Feeling overconfident, I set up the designs in LightBurn to burn all 4 at the same time. I used the same settings I used for my natural wood coasters, figuring that the wood was probably similar enough to work the same. I shrunk the designs a bit so that they could engrave within the coaster itself without slipping outside. I then did my placement trick to burn a light circle on my wood scrap to line up the coasters in the right spot for engraving. I had high hopes that these two-tone wood coasters would look even nicer than the originals. Unfortunately, that was not the case. The weird part was that some areas engraved okay, especially the dark parts of the coaster, but the lighter parts were extremely faint. Even after doing 2 passes, the result was not consistent enough. So I switched to a lighter wood coaster, which was actually the same type of coaster I had used for my engraving test grid, and that came out much better. The map detail was clearer, the contrast was more consistent, and the whole coaster was much more readable. This is probably one of the biggest lessons of the whole video. The laser can do the detail, but the material surface can completely change the result. Same kind of file, same general idea, but the dark two-tone coaster was not a good match. The lighter wood was much better. And for me, as a beginner, these are the important lessons to learn, and I appreciated them instead of getting frustrated. I wanted to test cutting next, so I decided to create a custom corner keychain out of the thin balsa wood sheet I was using as scrap. I used my MK3 account to look for keychain designs. I found a set that had a bunch of interesting shapes, so I downloaded them and opened them up in Affinity. From here, I just copied and pasted directly into LightBurn. I then ungrouped the parts and put them in separate LightBurn layers so I could control the cutting properties and order of the cuts. I wanted to do the engraving first, then cut the keychain hole, and finally cut the border out. At first I thought this wood was closer to 2 to 3 millimeters thick, but after measuring it, it was really closer to 1 millimeter. Even then, it took a few tries to get the cut right. I had several failures before I got a clean one. In fact, I had some confusing results. My first try was bad due to having an unfocused laser. That's on me. Next, I focused the laser, but it did not cut through all the way. So I tweaked the properties and lowered the speed and upped the power, and ended up with a lighter engraving than the previous version. Finally, I tweaked the engraving to be slower with less power, and it finally ended up being decent. The final settings that worked for me were For the keychain hole, 500 millimeters per minute, 100% power, and 2 passes. For the outside edge, it was 700 millimeters per minute, 100% power, and 2 passes again. The hole needed a little bit more help than the outside edge, which makes sense because the small holes and tight curves can behave differently than longer outside cuts. The engraving on balsa was less exciting than the acrylic or aluminum. It was readable, but balsa is very soft and doesn't feel like a premium engraving surface. It's more interesting to me as a lightweight cutting material. But as a beginner cut and engrave test, it was useful, especially because it forced me to learn about separate layers for engraving, inner cuts, and the final outside cut. Next, I wanted to see if I could do the same with the acrylic sheet to create this keychain. The sheets are 2 millimeters thick, so I tweaked the cut settings to what I thought would be the right ones for the acrylic, and it worked on the first try. And I have to say, this came out really nice. For the 2 millimeter black acrylic, the settings that worked for me were on the inner keychain hole, 250 millimeters per minute, 100% power, 2 passes. On the outside edge, 300 millimeters per minute, 100% power, and 2 passes. I cut through cleanly, the edges looked good, and the finished keychain felt like one of the most successful projects from the whole review. So acrylic was a mixed result for me. Not great for the detailed pirate image, but great for the logo and the cut keychain. Even though I did most of my work in LightBurn, I wanted to spend some time with the built-in functions because that's one of the MK3's big features. The machine includes a bunch of projects on the SD card, and you can browse them directly from the touchscreen. I didn't make every project, but I did scroll through a lot of them, and I can see the appeal if you're brand new and just want something to try without designing your own file first. I also tested the built-in text feature on one of these leather keychain blanks I bought. The on-screen feature allows you to change font size, and then the material you're engraving onto, the quality, the speed, number of passes, and the power. And I made a very beginner-style mistake. The first font size looked okay on the screen and when framing, but once it engraved on the keychain, it was way too small. So I flipped the keychain over and tried again with a larger size. The second side came out much better, and the leather itself engraved nicely. It does smell a little bit, so this was another reminder that ventilation is not optional, but as a quick built-in screen test, it worked great. I still prefer LightBurn for more detailed work, but for quick text, labels, and simple projects, the touchscreen does make sense. So after all of those tests, here's where I landed. The aluminum cards were probably the easiest material to get a clean, professional-looking result from. The black acrylic worked great for bold logos and cutting, but not so much for subtle image engraving. The balsa wood keychain took some trial and error, but it did cut successfully once I had the settings dialed in. The map coaster was a good reminder that material choice matters a lot. Dark coaster failed, but the lighter wood coaster worked much better. And the leather keychain showed that the built-in screen and text tool can be useful for simple jobs. Many of the included projects also look like a lot of fun to do as well. What I liked about the MK3 is that once I got going, I was able to make a pretty wide variety of projects. Coated aluminum, acrylic, leather, wood, coasters, and cut keychains. I also like having the touchscreen there. It's not going to replace LightBurn for me, but for the quick text jobs, included projects, and beginner use, I can see why it's useful. The 400 by 400 millimeter work area is also nice because it gives you room to batch small items or work on larger projects without constantly repositioning material. The 15,000 millimeter per minute speed ensures that whatever project I do goes quick. So is the AlgoLaser MK3 beginner friendly? I think the answer is yes, but with a realistic expectation that laser engraving still involves a learning curve. The machine gives you a lot to start with: the touchscreen, built-in projects, LightBurn support, a large work area, and enough power to engrave and cut useful materials. But you still need to test, you still need to think about ventilation, you still need to match the artwork to the material. You should expect some failures before you get the result you actually want. For me, the best results were the black aluminum cards, the acrylic keychain, the leather keychain, and the lighter wood map coaster. The failures were also useful because they taught me what not to do. Don't assume every image works on acrylic, don't assume a dark coaster will give good contrast, and don't assume more power always makes an engraving darker. I'm still learning lasers, but after using the MK3, I feel like I understand the process a lot better, and I ended up with several pieces that I'm actually happy with. If you want to check out the MK3, I'll have a link and coupon code in the description. And if you want to see more beginner laser projects mixed with 3D printing and maker content, make sure to subscribe to the Custom Corner. Thanks for watching. See you next time.